Hi guys, I'm Saghid, and I'll be honest, I've grown to dislike establishing shots. That may be a stupid way to start this, but bear with me. In theory, they're a useful tool, right? They signal a shift in location and show us when and where the action is happening. But I find most modern filmmaking that revolves around this device immensely uninspired.
The shots that I find the hardest to do are the establishing shots. I don't know, for some reason I find them really boring.
It has become an over-reliance on the same old techniques. Nothing about what we see is remotely interesting, and it all comes off as lazy and repetitive. I mean, seriously, look at this. But that's why I want to talk about this guy.
See, you asked one little question. I used up half your time.
Huge answer.
Okay.
I'd say the most important thing to consider about Michael Mann is that he's primarily a subjective filmmaker. He likes to place us as close as possible to his characters, often resulting in some pretty entertaining visual storytelling.
Subjectify the experience of the film. That was the one imperative that I wanted to do. I wanted to bring audience subjectively into moments and scenes and characters.
For example, let's say a character suddenly finds themselves in a hospital. Do you take us there using generic drone footage, or do you do this?
2 paces ahead, 1 to the left.
Or what if an important meeting between a group of people is about to take place? Do you film the building from one angle, then cut to everyone sitting and talking? Or do you do this? Okay, last one, I promise. What if the big confrontation between a cop and the criminal he's been after is about to happen? How do you transition into it? Is it by doing the same damn thing you've been doing all movie long? Or do you do something like this? Maybe that one's too crazy of an example, but I think you get what I'm talking about. Almost every one of Mann's establishing shots is driven by the same thing: focus. He knows whose story he wants to tell and never strays away from them, because ultimately I believe that his end goal is to throw us directly into these worlds. If there's a helicopter, we're right next to it. Someone's driving a car, we're inside of it. Even when the camera is further away, it's still clear whose story we're seeing. And to me, that's what signals a great director. Someone who can take a tired old trope and continuously put his own spin on it.
So then the city becomes less of a flat plane, then it becomes like a three-dimensional machine that you're moving through, kind of like a rat inside of a three-dimensional machine. That was the metaphor about Thief.
To Mann, these kinds of shots are more than just the means of getting from point A to point B. They're an extension of his filmmaking. He doesn't settle for doing the same thing over and over, instead constantly trying to achieve something more inventive, which is pretty inspiring. So with that being said, here are 3 things Michael Mann does with his establishing shots that I say we can all learn from. Number 1 is a prioritization of landscapes. The weird thing about shooting a city or any location like this is that it feels messy, like we don't really know what we're supposed to be looking at. But when given a subject, the environment feels more massive. It puts into perspective where these people live, essentially turning every setting into its own character. Number 2 is a reinforcement of his style. By taking such a subjective-centric approach, we only ever get to see what Mann wants us to see: empty highways, flickering city lights, rainy streets. So in other words, he's showing a version of each city that only he can capture. The result is dreamlike, ethereal. And finally, number 3 is an emphasis on information. This is the first night Neo and Edie spend together, while this is the last. Everything we need to know about what's happened between these 2 characters is told to us through these images. And that's it. Mann's establishing shots work in service of his characters. He wants us to feel what they feel. He'll show what kind of situation someone is stuck in, communicate a person's emotional state, depict a relationship, the aftermath of a confrontation, or the start of one.
Who you know fresher than whole. Riddle me that. The rest of y'all know where I'm lyrically at. Can't none of y'all mirror me back. Yeah, hear me rap, it's like hand G rapping his prime. I'm young H.O., raps Grateful Dead. Back to take over the globe, now break bread. I'm in Boeing Jets, Global Express. Out the country, but the blueberries still connect. On the low, but the yacht got a triple deck. But when you young,